Hey up, how's it going? Andy Pickering here. Today I'm going to be doing a video all about how I record on a 4-track recorder. A little bit about myself. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm assuming most people haven't heard of me or heard any of my music, but I've done 6 albums, all of which pretty much all recorded on 4-track. I'm also in a band called the Telmos, but I've been a musician my whole life, and I've always had a love for home recording, particularly using cassette machines and vintage techniques. Now these techniques really suit the type of music that I make. So I make very 60s-esque Beatle, Kinks, Emmett Rhodes, even the Lars, you know, that kind of classic sound that I'm always going for. And I always find that if you're recording at home and you're recording a lot of real instruments, a lost world of honest analog sound is kind of how I describe myself. The 4-track's perfect for that. You know, we live in a day and age where everything's in a computer now and they're incredibly handy. In fact, today's video is going to be about how we have the 4-track and we have the digital sort of luxury end as well, and how they work together. But it's all about the discipline, and that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm all about using the 4 tracks, that's all you've got, and basically bounce down, free up a couple more tracks, bounce another couple of things. The creative choices that you have to make really sort of lend an interesting sort of take on the whole thing. There's a big difference between trying to record like a master and recording a demo. Obviously you can just use the 4-track, you can just plug into it, you can record your ideas, it's all fun, but what we're actually going for here is a master recording. So I've had to, you know, think about the arrangements, think about how everything's going to go together, you know, put your producer's hat on essentially. What's going to make this sort of, you know, a reflection of how they used to work is the sheer limitations. It forces you to be a really good musician. You have to get everything right. There's no auto-tune, you know, there's even editing. You can't really splice 2 takes together or anything like that. So everything's going to be, you know, you have to envision every single part of it and start to get a whole sort of bigger picture before you even press record. That's kind of what I love about it, but it's such a challenge, you know. The underdog story really is the getting a master sounding recording out of a 4-track cassette. That's basically what gets me going. Okay, so the song. This video is not really about songwriting, but we're going to just quickly go through what we're going to record. It's a song called Suitcase In The Back. I wrote it very recently. It's a bluesy-esque piano tune, that's the only way I can describe it. I was probably trying to do some sort of gruff McCartney voice impression when I wrote it, with the I can feel it in my bones, that there's something coming up and coming on. And yeah, the rest of the song developed, and I thought, great, I'm going to record it. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my bass player Will Harrison from the Telmos, and we're going to record together live as the first part of the song. If you do ever play with other musicians, I'd always say getting as much down live as you can, because you're always going to get a better feel than doing everything separately. So the first part of the song is going to be piano, bass, drums, and they're going to be bounced together. The bounce is the magic part of recording on the 4-track, because that's where it really glues the sounds together. And if you're processing them on the bounce, so I'll be running them into my laptop for some light processing, compression, things like that. And they're all going to share the same reverb, which I'm going to have on my effects end. That's how you get the sound of the 60s, because in those days they would have one group reverb for lots of different things, and they'd share the same echo space. And I think that's really the secret: bouncing and sharing the same echo space, getting good definition. Is going to be a great way to start to layer this track into sounding really vintage. Right, so this is the 4-track. It's a Marantz 4-track recorder, PMD 740. This is a sort of Frankenstein of 2 machines, as I've been recording on these machines now for about 10 years. Things eventually give up, and I basically got another machine
to use as spare parts. But this one at the moment is all working great. So at the back you've got XLR and line input. Got some nice VU meters here. These are your gain. These are your channel faders and your tracks, your 4 tracks. These 2 here, 5 and 6, are additional inputs. So you can either be bouncing your tracks down like as you would if you recorded 3 tracks and you wanted to mix them together and bounce them onto one. You could assign one of these channels here and record a live take as it's going down. It gives you an additional overdub, which is what I'm definitely going to have to utilise because I'll be doing most of this myself. We've got effects here, which is basically one effects send and return, and I'll just use that for reverb, nothing else. When I'm going to be doing the bounces, I'm going to be processing the sounds in my laptop using my interface, and what that's going to be is an individual insert. So say the piano will have a compression effect and anything else I want to put on it from my nice wealth of plugins that I've got, and that will be coming directly through onto the track, affected exactly as I want it, and then it'll be recorded onto the track that we're bouncing onto. So I don't think I need to say much more about the 4-track or go into any kind of geeky terminology. So just get on with it. But I just thought I'd film my microphone, which is an Electrovoice Re10, which is a dynamic microphone. Really lovely to get that vintage tone. Great for vocals and piano and stuff like that. Right then, so let's get the session started. So we're going to be doing piano, which I'm going to be playing live with bass, and I'm looking at an empty chair because my friend and bass player in my band, the Telmos, will be joining us shortly for tracking. Now what we've got here is the piano mic'd up from the back. You can just about make that out. I found after many times recording the piano through the top that I can get the best sound just pointing it at the back. And the bass is going to be going directly into the 4-track, no amps or anything like that. And we're just going to play live without headphones or anything, and hopefully get a good feel for the track to build the drums afterwards and all the other overdubs. So let's go. Okay, so that is the bass and piano down. Most important thing really for that is having a tight take, so that overdubbing drums isn't too much of a chore. Just have a little listen back. Got a nice clean bass sound, nice clean piano, nothing's affected or processed yet, it's just straight on the tape. And yeah, very happy with it. On to the drums. Right, so next thing, here we go, got the drums set up now. Simple little kit. It's just a ride, a snare, bass drum, and that's it. And we're using a 1 microphone technique here, and the idea is that you use the space between the drums for the mix basically, so you get the mic in the perfect place that picks up all the pieces as you want them. It's just as old school and as simple as it gets. Now I've got the mic there pointed pretty much right at the bass drum, because where that's sat right there is it's just picking up enough snare and enough ride for what I want. And I've recorded some test bits. And yeah, sounding pretty good. Just got to learn how to play the drums now. We've got the piano, bass, played beautifully by Will, and then a drum that I've done. Now the idea is that we've got all those three things, I'm happy with them, everything's come together nicely. Now what I've got to do is ping pong them onto track 1 so that I can free up other tracks and fill out the rest of the song. So this is where things get interesting. Basically got inserts, which is like an effect channel running on all of the three into my interface. And then I've got plugins running, processing each track to taste, bit of compression, bit of maybe, you know, EQ, and then I've also got an effects loop running on this here, the effects loop here, and all I can have reverb coming from my plugins, and it's all running in real time, which is going to be then on the track that I ping pong onto. But what I've got to do is add a shaker on top of that live while it's bouncing down, and I can do that because I've got additional inputs and I can route them into the track we're recording onto. It's pretty handy because it means that I get an extra track basically. It just means that I've got to do a perfect take while I'm recording it. And operate the faders all at the same time. There's a couple of little bits, drum bits, that I need to turn down while I'm doing it. So everything we've done so far is now just on one track, including that shaker that I've just done. It's sounding pretty good. Exactly as I want it. Here we go, on with the overdubs. I've decided the next thing I'm going to do is a vocal, and then a double track vocal, and then I'm going to bounce those onto one track. In my bones that there's something coming up and coming on. When I see things in my mind. Vocals are done, and I'm happy with them, and I'm now processing them in the computer. So we've got tracks 3 and 4 now, double track vocal. Here we go. So here we are, vocals done. In my bones that there's something coming up and coming on. And when I see things in my mind, then I know I've gotta leave it all behind. And when I go, I feel my heart is beating fast. I've got to bounce it, but I'm also going to do an additional, while it's recording down, backing vocal. So I've got to get the whole take perfect from start to finish. So it might take me a while, and hopefully not too frustrating. So we'll see how that goes. So after about 5 or 6 full attempts, sometimes it was too loud, the backing vocal on the bounce. Sometimes it was too quiet. Sometimes I got a bum note. It was not as bad as it probably took me an hour, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things ain't too bad. We have our whole track now on 1 and 2, and these two are now going to be recorded over, and they're going to be freed up. So what we have here is,
when I go, I feel my heart is beating fast. I'll picture by the sea, my suitcase in the back. 'Cause I know I've done most everything I can.
and now, as you should always do because you're dealing with mechanical machines that can break quite easily, is back all your stuff up, because I've had times before where you're doing a 4-track recording, everything's going great, then you drop a bollock and it breaks and you didn't back your stuff up and you lose stuff. So just chuck everything into one big session, and it's always there if you ever need to finish it, just in the box and digital. So there we go. So now I'm going to back that up, and the next stage is going to be figuring out my last 2 overdubs before we end up going for a mix.
I can feel it in my bones that there's something coming up and coming on. When I see things in my mind.
And I'm going to overdub an organ right now onto track 4. So let's give that a go. Okay, so that's the organ done now. The vintage Filicorder organ there, 1966. Loving it. Always sings and always sounds good on a track, particularly when you're recording vintage sounding tunes. So here it is.
I'll picture by the sea, my suitcase in the back. Oh, I've done most everything I can.
And there we are. So here we go on to the final overdub, which will be on track 3, which is going to be acoustic guitar, my Gibson J160E, same, I'm a Beatles geek, so I've got the same one that the Lennon and Harrison used to have. Right, so that's the guitar down. Acoustic guitar, you know, obviously I make it look quick in this video. There's lots of trial and error, lots of mic techniques, where to put the mic, what kind of guitar sound you want, all that sort of stuff. But you know, the video would go on forever if I showed you how long it takes to get the right sound onto tape. But I think I've done it, you know, as good as I'm going to get it. So as you can see on the mix here, all the individual elements, I'll just quickly play through them. There's your track 1, the original instrumental vocals.
A picture by the sea, my suitcase in the back. 'Cause I know.
Acoustic. An organ.
In your bones, that there's something coming up and coming on. When you see things in your mind, and you know you gotta live.
Here we go, the mix. The best part. Great thing about recording analog and the way that we're doing here with the bounces and all the decisions you've made and all the processing you've already done, so you're pretty much good to go. You just want to get your things panned off how you want them there, get your levels set there so we've got the balance, and you pretty much don't need to hardly touch anything. The main thing we're going to be doing here is on this additional track here. I've got my Nord to my side, and I'm going to be doing a tiny little lead part as it's mixing onto the computer. We're in the digital domain, the track's done. It's called Suitcase in the Back, and now I'm going to go for a beer.
Right, there we have it, the full 4-track experience. Very happy with how the song turned out. I'm going to play the entire song and with a montage of all the studio setups I've had over the years. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and to get to the level that I'm at now where I know exactly how to do it with the most minimal things, you know, it's quite a journey, but I'm really glad that I was able to capture it on some sort of video format, and yeah, just enjoy the track, you know. Let's fucking do this!